Amidst the devastating force of severe rainstorms and typhoons, southern China finds itself caught in a relentless battle against nature's fury. From collapsed bridges to submerged villages and the controversial reversal of land policies, the region is grappling with the consequences of changing climate. Let's take a look and explore the harrowing tale of destruction and resilience that unfolds in the wake of the catastrophic events. An expert on China's climate has issued a warning that the country's immediate future will be warmer and wetter. The expert also says that more scientific information regarding the crisis should be properly communicated to the people. According to Chao Qingchen, director of the National Climate Center, a subsidiary of the China Meteorological Administration, climate change will result in longer heat waves, more frequent floods, and warmer ocean surface temperatures this year. China is vulnerable to climate change due to its fragile ecological environment as well as its regional geography. With the frequent occurrence of various extreme weather and climate events that each of us has personally experienced or seen in the media, we should all be acutely aware that the climate crisis is no longer unfounded worry, but just around the corner, says Chao, who spoke at a science conference last week, adding that the world will be confronted with more severe disasters in the future. The specialists from the center provided grim preliminary analyses of China's climatic circumstances for this year. They projected frequent and intense bouts of extreme weather and climate occurrences. As a result of the National Climate Center's forecast of an increase in the frequency and severity of extreme weather events, especially prolonged periods of rainfall, China is preparing for a challenging flood season in 2023. According to the information provided by the center, the season began in May and will continue through September. According to the National Meteorological Center, the heaviest rainfall that May has brought so far has been concentrated in the southern regions of China, particularly in the provinces of Fujian and Jiangxi. According to Sun Jun, the chief forecaster at the NMC, the amount of precipitation that has fallen in southern China thus far in May has already established records for the daily rainfall. According to him, the rainfall has been more intense and has spread across a vast area. He stated that the middle and lower portions of the Yangtze River often see considerable rainfall in the months of June and July, but that the rainfall in 2023 began earlier than it normally would have. Flooding forced the evacuation of approximately 14,000 people from their homes in the province of Jiangxi. According to a report that was shown on China Central Television on Sunday, May 7th, flooding in the province of Fujian occurred as a result of precipitation building up in urban areas and rivers rising to higher levels. More than 70 schools in the city of Shaowu called off classes as a precaution. According to reports from CCTV, local personnel has been organized in order to investigate places that are prone to geological disasters in order to identify and remove any threats that may exist there. And according to the NMC's forecast, rain is going to continue following in southern China from Tuesday through May 14th. According to the information provided by the center, the majority of southern China may anticipate receiving light to moderate rainfall, while certain regions will be hit with torrential downpours. Elsewhere, from Tuesday through Thursday, there is a chance of light to moderate rain across a large portion of Tibet, as well as the provinces of Gansu and Qinghai. According to the center, snow or blizzards are likely to occur in mountainous regions that are located at high altitudes. More than 10,000 people have been driven from their homes as a result of the flooding. A total of close to 300,000 people have been impacted as a result of the flooding in the Jiangxi province. The China Meteorological Administration issued a warning that there will be heavy rain, thunder, and high winds across other parts of China. The administration also stated that there was a possibility of flooding and landslides in certain areas of Jiangxi, Fujian, and Guangdong in the days ahead. An officer working at the state headquarters for flood control and drought relief named Wan Chunqi stated that the flood season for this year had begun at a time that was unusually early. Even though the total amount of precipitation has been low, its temporal and spatial distribution has been uneven, causing both flooding and droughts to occur at the same time. According to Wang, we are not very optimistic about the situation. In Jiangxi, the headquarters for flood control have initiated an emergency response at level 4, which is the fourth and final layer in a system of 4 tiers. In Yishun, one of the cities that were hit the worst, a dike broke early on Saturday morning, leading to the flooding of 4 villages downstream and the subsequent need for an operation to rescue more than 200 residents. Certain regions of Fuzhou City have received more than 250 millimeters of rain in only one day, which has led to rivers overflowing their banks and flooding urban and agricultural areas. According to China National Radio, by the time it was dark, dozens of homes had been damaged and 375 hectares of crops had been completely destroyed, resulting in a direct economic loss of at least 230 million yuan, or about 33 million US dollars. Local governments were asked to boost up their rescue efforts, perform safety inspections on important dams and dikes, and ensure that critical infrastructure, including long-distance rail lines, were secured. The city of Chongqing, located in the southwest, the province of Zhejiang, located in the east, and Taihu Lake, located in the Yangtze Delta, are the most recent locations to enter flood season. Taihu Lake is one of the largest freshwater lakes in the country. Even the towns of Dongchuan, Xinjiang, and Yangjiang in southern China found themselves at the mercy of a powerful storm when they were confronted with non-stop downpours and stormy weather. These urban centers were subjected to widespread destruction and anarchy as a result of heavy rainfall, which was accompanied by severe wind gusts and thunderstorms. The severe weather conditions were especially hard on Dongguan. This city in particular was hit the hardest. The city was buffeted by wind gusts of levels 8 to 9, with some neighborhoods bracing themselves for winds of levels 10 to 11 at their full intensity. It was clear to see how powerful these winds were as they tore over the terrain in the forms of tornadoes, leaving a path of devastation in their wake. The infrastructure of the city sustained severe damage and vehicles were overturned, both of which made the city more vulnerable and hampered its operations. The wrath of the storm was felt all the way in Shenzhen as well. As a result of the torrential rainfall that saturated the road surfaces, the city's roadways became flooded pathways in a very short amount of time. Residents attempting to manage the deluge on electric bicycles had a difficult time doing so, and the presence of downed trees contributed to the mayhem. The intensity of the winds proved to be destructive, as evidenced by the path of destruction left behind in the shape of wrecked vehicles. In Yangjiang, the scene was just as horrifying as it was everywhere else. The city was pummeled by severe thunderstorms, which were accompanied by unrelenting winds that brought down trees and caused significant damage. The aftermath of the storm caused the booths of street vendors to be blown over, debris to flood the air, and a disorderly landscape to be left behind in its wake. The resiliency and resolve of the people living in these places were put to the test as they attempted to deal with the aftermath of the severe weather that included torrential rain, high winds, and thunderstorms. The road to recovery would be long and difficult, necessitating concerted efforts to rebuild and restore what had been destroyed in the face of nature's relentless might. The middle and lower parts of the Yellow River, as well as the Hai and Songliao rivers in the north and the Pearl River Basin in the south, are all at risk of more frequent and severe rainfall and floods this year, according to forecasters. According to Wan, the preparations for preventing floods this year gave early warning and planning first priority. He instructed those in charge of planning to keep a watch on potentially hazardous locations such as reservoirs and hydropower facilities, and to devise strategies for the early identification, reporting, and response to potentially hazardous circumstances. In the meantime, we need to transfer residents in advance to avoid potential casualties, and we need to make sure that rescue forces are well organized to carry out swift and efficient rescue operations, he said. We also need to make sure that rescue forces are well organized to avoid potential casualties. With this all in mind, Germany has a different perspective on the situation, which shows optimism in this disaster. As the chairman of the German Environment Organization said exclusively, we cannot solve the climate catastrophe without China's participation. He stated that China and Germany have industry structures that were comparable, and that both countries should learn from each other and work together to decarbonize the automobile, steel, and concrete industries. China is the largest manufacturing power in the world, accounting for around 30% of the total output of all manufacturing worldwide. The industrial sector accounts for around 1/4 of Germany's gross domestic product and serves as the country's primary driver of economic growth. According to a plan that was presented in August, Beijing has established a goal for the nation's industrial sectors to attain their peak level of carbon emissions by the year 2030. This is in accordance with President Xi Jinping's commitment in 2020 that China will reach its peak of emissions by the year 2030 and will become carbon neutral by the year 2060. Late in the month of April, Messner traveled to Beijing to engage in conversation with his counterparts from China as part of the Sino-German Track 2 dialogue on climate change and sustainable development. The conversation was initiated in 2020, but the meeting that took place the previous month was the first time it was carried out in person. According to Messner, among the topics that were discussed were long-term emission reduction programs, data and transparency, loss and damage due to climate change, and biodiversity conservation. He stated that China was ahead of the curve in the field of electric automobiles. China is leading the charge toward the electrification of transportation, he stated. I believe it to be of utmost significance because the Chinese mobility system is extensive. Here in Germany, we also have a robust automobile industry, and many of our car companies have operations in China. As a result, there's a simultaneous collaboration, competition, and shared educational opportunities. However, Messner expressed alarm regarding China's ongoing approval of new coal plants over the course of the past few years. Coal is the single most important factor that contributes to emissions in China. Finding a way to wean ourselves off of coal while simultaneously developing renewable energy infrastructure that is more adaptable is something that is very important, he said. According to research published by Greenpeace in April, China gave its approval to more new coal mines in the first 3 months of this year than it did for the entire year of 2021. It was stated there will be at least 90 gigawatts of new coal power approved in 2022, which is 5 times the total capacity that would have been approved in 2021. In the meantime, Germany is shifting its focus away from coal. The state cabinet of North Rhine-Westphalia voted in November to accept a draft bill that will bring forward the original target year of 2038 by bringing the phase-out of coal-fired power facilities in the state to the earlier year of 2030. According to Messner, it is very necessary for countries to restructure the structures of their energy, mobility, and industrial systems. He stated that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, is arguing that we need to halve global emissions every decade. We need to speed things up in China and Europe alike if we want to achieve climate neutrality by the middle of this century. And that's all for the video today, but we'll be right back with more videos soon. Please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.